Welcome to the weekly poll, everybody. I am Sal, and I'm joined today by Joel. Today we're going to be talking about the Captain Marvel trailer. Unfortunately, our other cohorts and co-hosts are unavailable today. Rob's busy. Benny is celebrating an anniversary with the lovely and talented Natalie, and also Tiffany is not feeling well. So we are doing the show live and early today here on Eligible Monster. I want to thank you all for joining us. Estel Thani has just subscribed with a Tier 3 sub. Thank you so much, man. Nimrod Canada subscribed with a Tier 1 sub and subscribed for 28 months in a row. We want to thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, please know that your subscriptions do contribute to the payment of the people who make this show possible. And I'm not talking about me and Joel. We already get paid enough. I'm talking about the amazing moderators like Moby and Danielle who take care of everything and make sure everything's moving smoothly and create a comfortable space for all of you guys to continue to enjoy your conversations and your chats during this show.
The unsung heroes.
That's right, exactly. So welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about that trailer you just heard and just kind of break it down for you a little bit. And then if we have time, we're also going to talk a little bit about a trip that Joel and Benny and Tiffany and Natalie and I went on. Along with many others. Bubba7012 also subscribed to the Twitch stub. Thank you so much. But everybody went to Keystone Comic Con. Everybody, or at least everybody who was there, as opposed to everybody who wasn't there, for example, who was busy. But so many of us were there, and so I'd like to chat about that a little bit. By the way, we also want to apologize in advance if the video gets a little wonky. We are trying to use Discord instead of Skype because Skype has failed us in a big and profound way.
Shit the bed royally, as we knew it would. The newest update, version 8 whatever, for some reason completely torpedoes OBS compatibility, which it had for like every version before this, and it just stopped, no doubt because they want to sell us an alternative.
Precisely. So before that happens, we figured we'd make the switch over. Also, apparently, I missed a sub notification from Mopey. Thank you so much, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat about the Captain Marvel trailer. First, we're going to give you our impressions, our thoughts, and then we're just going to go into the trailer. So if you haven't seen the trailer yet, if you didn't hear it, then thank you so much for indulging me in this little dramatic reveal. But also, what's it called? We'll get into it. So Joel, initial thoughts on the Captain Marvel trailer. Just the first impressions. Oh, the point I was making was spoilers.
Yes.
So if you are here and you don't want to, be spoiled on what the Captain Marvel trailer is all about, you don't have to see it. We're not going to show you much at all, but we are going to talk about it at length.
Yeah.
It's also a trailer.
So you can go see it whenever you want, like pause us and come back.
Right. But also, if you're avoiding all hype about Captain Marvel, which, why? It's not going to ruin Infinity War 4 for you or whatever. So,
No.
But yeah. So Joel, initial thoughts on Captain Marvel?
I thought it was cool. Stylistically, I like it seems to be doing its own thing. They throw some fun curveballs into the Captain Marvel lore that you might be familiar with. And moreover than that, I'm surprised actually by how much it looks like young Samuel L. Jackson is going to play into the film. I
gotta tell you, yes, spoilers, Sam Jackson is not only in the film, but he seems to be one of the first people who makes first contact with Captain Marvel. The CG de-aging effects, which Marvel's kind of been pioneering.
The Disney Fountain of Youth.
It looks great on Sam Jackson. I've only really noticed it on two individuals, and really, I feel like I didn't even notice it on Coulson. He's in the trailer, but he didn't look too young. It's more like they just gave him some hair. And they were like, that's enough. We really don't need to spend $80,000 for this one shot.
Clark Gregg isn't that old, I don't believe.
No, it's true. But Sam Jackson looks like Sam Jackson from 1993.
Yep, they went through time, stole him, and brought him back.
Right. And by the way, not to spoil too much, but breaking down the trailer a little bit, 1993 seems to be around the time this movie's set in. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's an establishing shot of this trailer that's supposed to be kind of like a wink and a nod and a laugh.
Yeah.
Which is that Captain Marvel smashes through the roof of a autonomous building in a retail industry giant from back in the day. Blockbuster Video. Blockbuster
I laughed
Video.
so hard. I love that Blockbuster is a punchline now.
Yeah, I know. But it also serves as a kind of like a reference point because Blockbuster Video is different from Blockbuster Entertainment. So Blockbuster Video must be around 93, 95. They said it was supposed to be in like the late 90s, so maybe it's just literally meant to be a joke, and so as such, Blockbuster Video. Maybe it's an old Blockbuster Video. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we're guessing it's somewhere around like 95 to 98. So, but yeah. So, what's it called? Yeah, the de-aging effect on Sam Jackson is great. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action, but I feel like just those like bright sun shots, like those outdoor shots, make him look pretty real. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
He also sounds like he's going to have a hell of a character arc in this, too. Him saying he thought about quitting being a spy, being a government agent until he met Captain Marvel.
It's true, and I think that works. There's some time there for him to like grow as an agent. I mean, based on his look, based on I think there's a rear shot of him with his holsters, like with his like little suspenders. I feel like the look of Sam Jackson indicates that he's like that he's basically Coulson's partner.
Yeah.
I hope not, because it kind of screws with the continuity of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being that, like,
boy, does it ever.
Young Coulson was Agent May's partner.
Yeah, and shouldn't he have been mentored by Fury? And isn't this like, he was like his pick for his new S.H.I.E.L.D. organization when he put it together? Because I'm guessing this is pre-S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, no, it's not pre-S.H.I.E.L.D. because when we see Carol in the trailer, she's wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. hat. And even though the movie takes place in like the mid-90s, she uses a thumbprint bioscanner, which people didn't really have in 95.
What was Peggy Carter and her team? Were they technically S.H.I.E.L.D.? What was the first S.H.I.E.L.D.? I know the continuity of the movies and the TV shows have it a little different.
Yeah, the first S.H.I.E.L.D. was like the SSR.
Right.
And I know that in Iron Man, it's the Strategic Homeland Interventions and Logistics Division, but like they're kind of playing with the idea of calling it S.H.I.E.L.D., even though everybody calls it S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
So that's a little innocuous, or a little anachronistic, where they're like, yeah, no, we're going to call it S.H.I.E.L.D., and then, I don't know, 10, 15 years later, we're going to mull over whether we're going to call it S.H.I.E.L.D. That whole S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, it was so great in Iron Man, and then doesn't work in a larger universe setting because of all the implications that S.H.I.E.L.D. has.
Right.
But still, we got the Blockbuster Video reference. Also, I want to say this movie, based on the trailer, suggests that Carol will have already gotten her stuff. And then,
yes,
we're getting an origin movie, but it'll be mostly in flashbacks.
Yeah, though they also do kind of throw a curveball into the mix there, and they seek to imply that perhaps Carol's memories are not her own. Perhaps they've been tampered with. Perhaps this is not Carol Danvers as we know her to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes where it looks like she's being tortured, particularly through her mind. We also have that line from the trailer where she says, like, I feel like I have these memories, but I don't know if they're mine. Like you said, I think the whole thing is going to be about identity. I think the fact that, like, the Skrulls are playing such a big part of it. I want to say, a lot of people are talking about how, like, they're expecting Secret Invasion to kind of, like, be the next movie. Like, the next big thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out a surprise thought, which is that I think Secret Invasion is going to be this movie.
Right, you think so?
Yeah, I think that we're going to imply, like, because you can't have, like, Galactus show up, or Ronan the Accuser accuse Earth, because you can't have any major moment where characters show up and threaten the Earth and reveal that there is sentient life on other planets.
Because it would mess with canon.
Yeah, and then, like, 15 years later, I go, like, oh, and there's a dude in an iron suit. He's pretty impressive, too, right? Like, so my guess is, I think that Secret Invasion is kind of like we have to save the world, and we also kind of have to keep it under wraps. It'll be kind of like a Men in Black movie.
Yeah, I very much got that feel from this, too. Even the shot where the Skrull ship shows up above Earth, and it's like, ooh, they probably have to do a lot to cover that up, didn't they?
Well, it was also, I like how it's immediately cloaked. Like, it's cloaked and then it decloaks, so you're like, yup, because it has to be, because there's no way we can show a spaceship that people can remember.
And fitting for the Skrulls, too, because, they work with subterfuge and everything, and in the shadows, that's kind of their MO.
Yeah, I'm actually genuinely surprised that, like, in the comics, the Skrulls don't normally have, like, a lot of cloaking tech for all of the cloak and dagger bullshit that they pull.
Yeah. It's probably a good idea.
There's a great shot in the trailer, speaking of Skrulls, where we see what could probably, we're guessing it's a S.H.I.E.L.D. lab, but they're performing an autopsy on a Skrull.
We already know they did autopsies on the Kree because that's how Coulson came back to life.
That would be really dope, by the way, if they kind of like retcon that in. I mean, we know that Captain Marvel gets her powers from the Kree. We know the Kree have to play some kind of significant role, given that we're finally going to get some redemption for Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah, maybe this is why Carol has a falling out with S.H.I.E.L.D. and why she goes back to space and never comes back, because it's like, oh, you're dissecting my friends, you're dissecting Kree, what's wrong with you?
It'd be kind of neat, actually, if the dude who was in the tank at Tahiti was Mar-Vell.
That would be cool. Again, that would seek to imply that they thought it through, and also that the TV shows and the movies work together closer than they do.
It would be really nice. It'd be a nice, like, bone to throw. Given that
it really would.
The show is practically dead, and to make a reference to the like Coulson Resurrection Project, and you're going to put Coulson in the friggin' movie, would be kind of like it's moot. You don't have no one's asking you to cast that terrible actor as the Absorbing Man in any of the movies, but it would be kind of cool to see a little reference to that.
Yeah, I would be cool with that. You're right. It would be a bone, and it would be so easy to throw it. Just throw it. That's all we want.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to believe we didn't waste 3 seasons.
Well, longer than that.
It's funny, because I keep thinking that the show has like 6 seasons, but everyone's like, oh no, it's like 3 or 4. And I'm like, is it because of those half seasons? I don't know.
That's why they do half seasons. But man, those last couple seasons were pretty great with Ghost Rider and the framework and all the time travel shit. And we finally got Gravitron.
Yeah, it was actually one of the best uses of Ghost Rider in a very long time.
You gotta wonder, too, now that they finally got mutants and X-Men back, it's like, hey, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we were gonna let you go, but let's have a couple mutant seasons before we call it a day.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny, because I actually got a lot of indications from this trailer I remember somebody on Twitter said, like, oh, this looks just like Green Lantern. I'm like, does it? Does it really look like Green Lantern? Like, name all the things that make it look like Green Lantern, besides the fact that, like, she's already an airline pilot. Like,
and space and aliens.
Like, it's not really a surprise that she's using the airline plot, given that that's who she is.
Yeah, that was in her story.
Yeah, but I remember that there's that shot of her looking out the window at Hala at the Kree homeworld, or at least that's the implication. And I noticed that the impression I got was more that moment from Thor Ragnarok, when Thor is in the like kind of like winner's room, and he's looking out the window at like Sakaar, and it's like this fish out of water. Like I'm kind of out of my depth here right now. Situation.
Yeah. The chat is also reminding me that Agent Carter found that Kree in the 40s. Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of continuity there that gets a little muddy between shows.
This is true. Oh man, yeah. I hope there's somebody who's like paying attention to this stuff.
I know, right? For real. Because again, we're fans. We've seen it, and even we have trouble keeping it straight.
Yeah. What are some other standout moments in this trailer for you?
We get the Mohawk helmet.
Yes. Well, you might have seen it on the thing here, but yeah, we
did see it.
Sorry, this thing.
Sorry.
I've been told by our producers that there's some kind of like weird hiss in the background. Nothing I can do about it. I've already got the headphones plugged in. Everything's here. Nothing I can do.
Sorry, guys. It was this or no show. Skype crapped the bed, and we had to improvise.
Exactly. Whatever.
But yes, Mohawk helmet. I'm glad they're paying homage to that other look that Captain Marvel had.
It's cool. I in the comics, I'm not a huge fan of the helmet. I kind of feel like it's weird. I like.
She doesn't need a mask or a helmet.
But I do like the idea of a superhero wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And particularly the shot that I used from the trailer that I put in this episode, the fact that she's got like the kind of like glowing blank eyes is like, oh hey, the look that superheroes have.
Yeah, hey, you look like one of my comic books that I read.
Exactly. That's kind of dope. But like Captain America in the movies, I gotta say, I kind of dig the full costume that looks like it's from the comics, but with no mask. I think it kind of works. Like, I dig Captain Marvel with no mask, just like her hair kind of going wherever.
Yeah.
But it's cool that she wears the helmet, particularly when there's a moment in the trailer where she has, like, where she's basically made of completely pure energy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of dope, because it's kind of like a throwback to not only her
binary,
powers, but also, like, the binary era. Yeah.
She's going full binary.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something I'll be interested to see, where it's like, okay, how are we going to explain and simplify Captain Marvel's powers? Because they've done a really good job in all the other movies explaining what their deals are and how their powers work.
Yeah,
You do energy. You can do all the energy.
exactly. I noticed that it's funny, because the trailer for this movie looks basically like your standard Marvel movie, right? It's like, here's a person who has some powers, and there's going to be some fun. But there's
some personal demons.
Yeah, what's that?
I said some personal demons to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's like, yeah. It's really about this person growing and changing and be, like, Iron Man is a cool superhero movie, and it's about this, like, really, really, like, selfish person becoming a better person. Like, it's like, and hopefully it's a big journey for Carol as well, where she's like, I've been fighting all my life, and maybe I was a braggart and a pain in the ass in the Force, like in both the Air Force and the Space Force, but I'm gonna learn how to, like, be cool. Who knows?
Yeah. We'll have a team in there that I'm sure will be comedically mismatched of, different sorts of aliens.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's like the biggest parallel for Green Lantern for me, is just like a bunch of fun, colorful aliens with her, but like
there's a Kree Corps now.
There's a Kree Corps, and that's, for me, that didn't say Green Lantern so much as it said Nova Corps.
Yeah, right.
Because I remember when some behind-the-scenes footage or pictures were released of Brie Larson in the green Captain Marvel uniform, and I'm like, that's a uniform. That's part of the thing. And I gotta tell you, like, when they revealed that she was part of a Corps, I'm like, yeah, see, like, here it is. And it kind of feels like, I don't know. Do we need a Corps? I guess we do. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't even know what the hell this movie's really about.
No, me either. There's a war between the Kree and the Skrulls, which we've seen play out in comics a lot. It clearly spills over to Earth a little bit. We got Fury, we got Coulson, but no, by and large, we don't know what the main thrust is, and maybe that's good.
Oh no, I'm actually really, really happy, and that's why I felt emboldened to share at least the audio of the trailer in this episode, because I was like, we don't really know what the hell this movie's about. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I'm sure that you could, like, pull all kinds of, like, behind the scenes, like, paparazzi, like, photos, and probably piece together the whole plot, but, like, I was certain I knew what Prometheus was from that trailer, and I was horribly disappointed.
Boy, were we. I thought I knew what the new Predator was until I was wrong.
Oh, man. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to finally catching it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look good, but who knows?
No. The problem for me was, you had 4 good ideas for a movie here, and you jammed them all together.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the new Halloween movie getting great reviews, actually.
Interesting. I'm happy to hear that, because, I mean, I want it to be good. I want them to make cool movies based on franchises that I'm excited about.
Written by Danny McBride. Apparently, no one knew he had this in him, but he had it in him.
That makes sense. I gotta tell you, like, just this is a little bit of a side tangent, but, like, Danny McBride was pretty okay in Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Alien Covenant might have been the most offensive Alien movie ever made, and I saw Alien Resurrection. But he's really kind of okay. At first I was like, oh, Jesus, because I noticed that, like, James Franco was in it, Danny McBride's in it. I was like, so you just used your Hollywood clout to be in movies that you like. Like, I'm a big fan of Alien, I want to be in that movie, so I'll use my, like, my clout to shoehorn myself into this movie. And he actually really does a good job.
Yes, he does. He has hidden depth, that guy, as a performer.
Yeah, who'd have thought that?
Yeah.
Anyway, but so Danny McBride wrote, what was it? Halloween.
Yes, the new one.
But it has nothing to do with Captain Marvel.
But hey, maybe one day they'll tap Danny McBride for a Marvel project.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, it's funny. Carol in this movie, she's an airline. She's a fighter pilot. She's in the Air Force. As a kid, she clearly, like, wants to be a member of the Air Force. Like she's like, I think there's a shot of her like in like an aviation outfit, like a cute little like Amelia Earhart costume.
Yeah, there's her driving go-karts, playing Little League.
Right. So there's this implication. I'm hoping, because I remember what was it, when Hulk goes to Sakaar, he's in a Quinjet, which shouldn't really be able to go to Sakaar.
No.
And we don't really get any explanation as to why that is. It'd be fun if this movie established that like that cloaked spaceship out in orbit was actually like part of an ongoing thing where there's always like every once in a while, if anybody shows any kind of like interesting talent or any kind of like potential for spacefaring stuff, some alien spacecraft will show up and take you. You know, like,
I like that.
And like Ravagers took Star-Lord. Somebody took Banner, and maybe somebody takes Carol when she is in her ship, because there is a shot of her in her ship or in her plane where she's kind of like in space.
Right, like if you're ballsy enough to break Atmo at a certain speed, aliens are like, "Whoa, look at what that human's doing! Isn't that sick?"
Yeah, it's a little Star Trek First Contact, where it's like, we'll
very
make
much
contact
so.
with you, we'll bring you in, or there's just a convenient wormhole just right outside.
Again, that's very comics. That's very Marvel. Someone in the chat also mentioned too. Don't forget, Monica Rambeau's mom is in this too.
Yes. Now I wasn't sure if it was Monica's mom or if they were gonna Hope Van Dyne this up, where it was like, no, this is Monica is the mom, and you know Maria is the daughter. But apparently, no, Maria Rambeau is Monica's mom.
Right. So
and
that's how they're
fellow fighter pilot.
Fellow fighter pilot, and her call sign is Photon.
Cool. It's a neat little throwback. I dig it.
That's one of those, hey fans, we know what you want.
Yeah. And I guess if it works, if this movie is successful, if it does work well, which I don't have any reason to suspect it won't, but even if it, even still, maybe we'll get a Photon movie, or at the very least, we'll put Photon on the Avengers or something.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, this is so much grasping at straws. This is a callback reference to the superhero we're talking about's mom being in the movie.
But hey, there's a whole Marvel universe of characters. It's not just Carol.
It's true.
We also briefly see Jude Law in this one as well.
Yes. Let's talk about Jude Law and the role he plays, because it's very important. Jude Law's playing Mar-Vell.
Yes, he is. He's playing the OG Captain Marvel.
And based on what it looked like in the trailer, he seemed to be her mentor, or at the very least, her commanding officer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's expecting it to be the same as the comics is probably going to be kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
But, there'll be, like, homages. There'll be
some
spiritual sequel or reference to it where it's like, okay, no. Like, we can't have it be exactly the same. Although, I gotta say, if you look at the credits for this movie, Jude Law is playing Mar-Vell and a character named Walter Lawson, which means maybe the undercover Kree agent that we were expecting.
Interesting. So there's places they could take it for sure.
Yeah, like maybe Carol joins S.H.I.E.L.D. or is okay with S.H.I.E.L.D. joining up with them because she knows that somewhere deep within it is Jude Law.
Right, because also, too, that'll be the big thing they have to explain. If Captain Marvel was so important, if she was so powerful, if she had such a good relationship to Nick Fury, why wasn't she there for the events of the original Avengers? Why has she assumedly been out in space this whole time?
Well, also, why hasn't she aged?
Why has she not aged? That's going to be another issue. When you're filled with Kree power and whatnot there, when you can turn into pure energy, you don't age.
Yeah, that's true. I've been thinking about this all crabbed. I was originally thinking, like, she must have to go into a, stasis field. Like, she must have to, be hidden. And it's kind of like, no, I guess because she's got Kree powers, the Kree don't age. So
no, they don't.
Fine. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, Kree DNA, Krees don't age.
Yeah. Let's see. Listen, so we're gonna talk about this trailer pretty much for a little while longer, so bear with us. I was kind of like, do we really have we ever done this before? Where we've really done a full trailer breakdown?
No, I don't think we ever have before. Not on this show, at least.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I'm jazzed for it. Although because I don't know what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, it just looks kind of cool. You know?
I feel it.
I also don't like to like harp on it, given the fact that I kind of want to be surprised. I kind of want to know what's happening in this movie without drilling through to get all the facts. But I am cool with like, here's what I'm cool with, and we've talked about this on other shows. The idea that Carol's had a very complicated history. And
boy, has she ever.
Yeah, and she's gone through a lot of like character revamps and reimaginings and like some would say assassinations. And this is a great opportunity for Carol to like be cool and uncomplicated. And
break the mold, much like Iron Man did in his first movie. People forget what a state Iron Man was in before the first Iron Man movie.
This is true. Like, here's the thing. Like, people were talking about how, like, oh my god, like, there's no redemption for Carol. She's completely unsalvageable. She's bullshit and sucks. Tony Stark was, he betrays the Avengers and then dies, and then is replaced by a teenage version of himself, and then is drawn by people like Rob Liefeld for a while.
Yep.
And then there's this period when his armor comes to life and falls in love with him, and he's written by Joe Quesada, and it's really, really bad. And so
it's fucking nuts.
If you were to like hear people talking about like, oh, they're making an Iron Man movie, like if Marvel had kept the rights to Spider-Man and the MCU was launched with Spider-Man, then, you know, maybe a few years down the line, we'd be like, oh, let's talk about this Iron Man movie, and we'd be talking about it in the context of, like, they can't do an Iron Man movie. Think of all the shit that he was through in the 90s, and then think about his character assassination from Civil War. Like, he's practically a bad guy now.
Yeah, I remember when my friends from high school were super stoked to see Iron Man 1. I'm like, really? Really? Iron Man? Okay, fine, whatever. It's non-comic readers, we'll see.
I was stoked. Like, I saw the trailer, and I'm like, this movie looks really dope, and I love Robert Downey Jr., so I am all in. And I think it was because back in in my mind, I'm like, they're going to throw away all the baggage. And indeed, they did.
And it started clean.
So this is and it's funny because they were able to do it back then, because nobody was watching, nobody was listening, nobody was paying attention.
Yeah.
But in today, you know, because of the surprise or because of the expectations of the MCU, you can't help but talk about like what they're going to reference, who she's going to be, how she's going to be compared, and all that stuff. But the reality is, it's really no different. It's another day at the office for the MCU because they're making a Captain Marvel movie the same way they were making a Spider-Man Homecoming movie. You know, they made Thor Ragnarok, and they're making Guardians of the Galaxy. People were like, Guardians, what a stupid idea. And I was one of them. I was like, this is a really weird decision. But I didn't fault them because they were so successful with everything else. But I was like, it's really weird that they would choose to do Guardians.
Yeah, and it really is. But hey, they crystallized all the best parts.
Right. But I'm in. Similar with Doctor Strange. Like, I was like, no, you're going to make Doctor Strange knock yourselves out. Like, you know how to do it. Which is why actually I was a little disappointed with Doctor Strange. I was like, you didn't go quite far enough.
Yeah, I agree.
But that being said, you know what's funny? His defeat of Dormammu is pure comics. That kind of almost
very
makes up for everything.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. But with Captain Marvel, it's like, sure, you may, because you were raised on MCU movies, might wonder why they're doing this, or might think, you know, there's no way it could work. Just throw any of your expectations out the window and take any of the baggage associated with Carol and throw it away because
they're
going to. Any cool, fun, behind the scenes comic book references they made in Iron Man were very subtle, were very slight. You know, they were very tangential. It was not a deep dive in terms of Iron Man stuff. You know, they made, I mean, for God's sake, the Mandarin is like a Taliban warlord who just wants to control Asia, and his Taliban's called the Ten Rings. And then they're like, okay, nobody really noticed that we actually made a Mandarin reference, so let's just make the Mandarin the bad guy in 3.
Yeah, let's just go for it.
Let's just do it again. But that's how weird and deep divey they were with Iron Man stuff. They didn't even think it was a good idea to make his premier villain the villain.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Captain Marvel does, but my expectation is that this is a great opportunity for them to fix Captain Marvel. Both movies. Where
and I hope they do.
Yeah, because the movie will be unblemished from any of the comic stuff, and any of the comic stuff they do, they're not going to reference the creepy husband-son character.
Yeah, no.
They can't make any X-Men references because they already made it before the deal was struck. And so everything else is fair game. And, all we do know is the cat's going to be in it. Because there's a shot of the cat in the poster if you look really closely.
There's the cat.
But, I'm excited. Before we wrap up with Captain Marvel, before we can wrap up with Captain Marvel, number one, I want to say, Joel, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered that. I mean, the one thing we didn't talk about was Granny punching, and the chat is very upset that we haven't talked about Granny punching.
Grandma punch. I mean, obviously, Skrull. Some people were saying, like, man, I kind of hope that it's not a Skrull, that it's, like, just so
and
funny.
That's the joke.
I hope not, because, number one, she's super powerful. Number two, that lady's super old. Number three,
yeah.
You want to talk about character assassinations?
Oh, man, you gotta see that.
Make this character so unlikable that she punched an old lady by accident.
Man, you gotta see that Captain Marvel movie. It's got action, suspense, comedy, and the hero punches old ladies.
Exactly. We need, like, a new dub from Sam Jackson where he's like, like spaceships, car chases, and geriatric punching.
Love it.
I think, it's a great moment. It was gift immediately. I saw that, what's it called? Rob was like, when I woke up this morning, Rob had already posted a GIF of the moment. And I'm like,
of course he did.
Okay. And I was immediately like, scroll, And I hope
gotta be.
Here's the thing. I think it's enough that everyone on the bus or train or wherever they are thinks that she punched an old lady.
Yeah, that's
funny. But it has to be a Skrull. Otherwise it's ruined the character.
Otherwise, it's Civil War II all over again.
Exactly. And
look, I had to punch that old lady because an Inhuman told me that she might be the next Hitler.
Oh my god. What a way to, like, destroy everything in one line. I would not expect if the MCU ever makes Civil War II, you can bet your boots it won't be using any of the comics as a basis.
No.
Don't worry. Like, anybody who's worried about. Here's the thing. It's funny. I've seen a lot of references to Civil War II as the reason why people don't like Captain Marvel, and it's like, she's been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's not her only bit of history.
And that book sucks and was made under duress by a weary creator. Mm-hmm. So if you knew anything about the origins of Civil War II, or if you just read it, you might think like, oh, well, of course she behaved out of character. None of this is good. It's a cash grab. It's written by Bendis, who didn't care about that character anyway, or didn't like the direction they were going with that character. And he was doing it because, like, he was a staff writer, basically. They're like, we need a big name attached to a big book that was coming out with the movie.
Yeah.
So, sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And most people have moved on from that story.
I hope so, but it keeps coming up, and I think it's because, like, the book is very recent. It was one of the most high-profile Marvel Universe-centric books that she's been in, where she played a central character. Because it's funny, if you look in the pages of every single major Marvel event, she's in all of them.
But she never really does much.
She doesn't do anything. And it's because most of these people don't really know what to do with that character.
It's true. They know they want her there. They know she's good to fill up the background.
Right, and she's there to provide history. Like, oh, this is a person who knows... who knows the where the bodies are buried in terms of the Marvel Universe. She's been on the Avengers for a long time.
Yeah.
But again, like, if the writers don't care about them, they don't do anything with them. I mean, like, look at Secret Empire. What does she do in that book?
Nothing.
Like, what was the other one? There was another recent one that came out where I was like, what the hell did she do in this? I mean, Avengers Standoff, No Surrender. Well, she was frozen in that one.
That's right. She had a little more to do in Infinity Wars going on right now. She got a whole tie-in.
Yeah, but everybody gets a tie-in.
It's true. But hey, it was a special one-shot that basically said, hey, sorry about Civil War II. Mistakes were made. We're going to try and be better now.
Yeah. She's in the... she shows up in Aaron's Avengers, like, first couple of issues where they, like, practically dismantle the entire Marvel cosmology in 2 issues.
Yep.
Which is also a huge disappointment, but whatever.
So Celestials did it.
Yeah, Celestials did it. Dark Celestials did it.
Dark Celestials did it. They were sick.
They were sick, and we're God Vomit.
We are God's vomit.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
Hey, I'm fine with that. I've always felt I was God's vomit. That's going to be the name of my new punk band anyway.
It's true. Sorry about the coughing. I'm still getting over being sick. So yeah. I I guess with that in mind, we're going to wrap up with a chat about the Keystone Comic Con and our experience there. Because if you didn't get a chance to meet us there, you missed out on a fun show. But fear not, there's other opportunities for us to do that.
Oh, yes.
Keystone Comic Con was this past weekend. It was the first Reed Philadelphia-based show.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, it was also 3 weeks from New York Comic Con. So it was actually, it's funny because a lot of people were kind of like worried that it was like kind of low traffic. That was a great opportunity for a lot of people because Nick Spencer was there. And there's nobody at his booth. So you could talk to Nick Spencer for like 25 minutes if you wanted to.
And I did. And I talked to David F. Walker for a while, and we all bugged Jim Zub all con long to talk to us.
So tell us about the creators that you took an opportunity to talk with.
Again, those were the ones. Those were the three I really wanted to.
Tell the story.
Oh.
These are con tales now.
I talked about everything. I'm like, hey, Jim Zub, I love that, you're weaving more Dungeons and Dragons into your Champions book. And he's like, yeah, I had to fight for that and everything because they didn't quite get it, but I eventually wore them down.
Yeah, right. There were a lot of panels at this show. What about David F. Walker? What'd you say to him?
Oh, Walker was great. I always love talking to Walker every chance I get. I was sure to pick his brain about, hey, what's the deal with the DC milestone thing? Why does it keep seeming like it's going to happen and it's not happening? Because obviously he was named. He was supposed to write one of those books.
Yes. Now, did he swear you to secrecy, or can you talk about what he said?
He swore me a little bit to secrecy. He just said whatever you think is the problem is not the problem.
Okay, and what did you think was the problem? We can throw that out right now.
I thought it was rights. I thought it was Dwayne McDuffie's widow holding things up, but he says that's not the problem and money's not the problem.
Interesting. So, based on this brief conversation, can we expect that any talk they have about Milestone might actually mean that we're going to see some Milestone in the future?
The overall tone of the conversation didn't seem hopeful. In fact, he basically told me he wanted to write a Milestone character in something else, in the background of something else, just to use them, just to keep them alive. Yeah. And DC was like, yeah, no.
Interesting.
No Milestones. No, none of them.
Wow. Okay.
Which is very weird because it's like, well, isn't Static going to be in Young Justice Season 3? Everyone loved him in Season 2. Is he not going to be in that now?
Well, and it could be that after his appearance on the show and in the app, they'll be like, oh, well, there's a lot of demand, so now we have to get our heads out of our asses.
And do something with it, yeah.
There were a lot of, because of the major, weather problems we had, there was an issue with, there was a major issue with travel, and a lot of creators had to, kind of take a sick day for that show.
Yeah, they did.
Matt Rosenberg couldn't go. Tanya the Fourth couldn't go. I know that Capullo couldn't make it for most of it, but that was because he had personal issues.
Yeah, which was really unfortunate. All guys I would have liked to have met.
Yeah, Peter Tomasi was there.
Yes, he was.
And what did I say to him? I was walking the floor when I first got there. I was very early, and I saw him there, and I just, Stangston5 just subscribed to the Tier 1 sub, and has subscribed for 7 months in a row. Thank you, Stangston. By the way, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. This is not usually my forte, so we do apologize if I miss you. If I do, shout out. But I saw Tomasi at his booth, unfettered access to everything.
Yeah.
I'm walking by his booth. He's just sitting there. He's like, well, everybody else set up my stuff for me, so what do I do now? And I was like, hey, Tomasi. And he's like, what's up? And I'm like, keep up the good work, man. And he's like, I'll try.
That was my thing. I was sure to be like, hey, loved your Superman. Can't wait for Detective Comics. And he's like, oh, I've got such things planned.
I've got such things to show you. I'm very excited about that.
What a pleasant dude, Tomasi. He stayed in our hotel, the Marriott, where we all were at by the Sky Bridge. Well, we were at, you weren't.
Yeah.
But he just got up and walked around the floor and talked to vendors and bought comics for himself. And I'm like, what a pleasant dude. He's still a fan. I love this.
Yeah. Let's see. Outside. In terms of creators, I did get the chance to take a look at. This isn't really comics related, but I got to take a look at Steve Whitmire's booth, and Steve Whitmire was the voice of Kermit after Henson died.
Nice.
And he was just recently unceremoniously kicked out of the job. So seeing him there, apparently he's part of a Muppet building team, and so you could get Muppets if you wanted to. And I was like,
oh shit,
that's kind of dope.
I met Carol Spinney for a little bit there, the original Big Bird. Not at the booth. I was walking back at the end of the night, and I held the door open for a guy in a wheelchair. I didn't know it was him until you told me it was him the next day.
Yeah. No, he. I avoided him just because I was like, he's a very old man. I wanted him to like really meet people who hadn't seen him before, because he was at a like very private function about 5 minutes from my house. So I went to that and I got to talk to him and chat about that. He played Oscar the Grouch also, which is my big deal. But I was like, oh, and so that was really cool. And seeing him in the wheelchair actually made me a little sad. I was really upset. So I avoided him the entire rest of the show.
Yeah, his whole family was there too, and they were all very pleasant and very nice.
Yeah. Troy Baker, the voice of the dude from The Last of Us, Booker in Bioshock Infinite. He plays, if you're a big Avengers Assemble fan, I think he plays Hawkeye.
Plays a billion things.
He also plays Quartermain in the Good Avengers show. But he was there, and Keystone did this really cool thing where the Hard Rock Cafe was adjacent to and attached to the convention. And so there was a like private event starring Troy Baker and also a group called the Roddenberries. I didn't stay for the Roddenberries. I don't know what that meant. I assumed it was, at first I assumed it was like a weird kind of like mini con function where like Gene Roddenberry's family was there, but what I saw later on was that people were wearing like Star Trek Admiral uniforms, and I'm like, it's a band.
Right.
But Troy Baker did a like kind of like live music concert, and
yeah, because he sings beautifully.
He sings like a friggin' angel. This dude was awesome. What was it? He sang like an angel, man. He was friggin' awesome. It was really, really dope. To catch that. Also, admission was free. Cost nothing.
Nice.
It was just your badge.
Now I wish I made it out to that one.
Yeah, no, that was cool. And that was just like, I didn't make a note because I don't normally go to con after parties.
Same.
But, I saw the sign and I was like, it started at 10 o'clock, and I'm like, I got nothing going on. And because Benny went to bed like 9:30 or something. So I was like, I got nothing going on. Everybody's in bed. And so I was like, Tiff, you want to go? So Tiffany and I went, and we actually wound up bombing in on that show, which was really cool, and running into one of our friends who was also one of the talent organizers, and we chatted with him for like a good half hour. And
that's nice.
Really cool.
I hate to say I went to bed like an old man too on this thing. I'm just like, okay, so I have to go to sleep and start all over again tomorrow. Everyone else will no doubt be up early.
The thing about cons is that if you've never been, they will completely wipe you out. Because you'll be walking around, you'll be basically walking like 20 miles every day.
Yep.
Which unconsciously doesn't feel like 20 miles because you're like looking at things and you're talking to people and you're stopping and going, but when it all, like, if you ever do get a chance to go to like a major con, whip out your phone, do a step counter, throw it in your pocket.
You'll be shocked.
At the end of the day, look at what work you've done and be like, holy crap, if I went to cons every day, I'd be svelte as hell.
I was sure on this trip, because I was treating it as my vacation, to cheat on my keto diet that's helped me lose all the weight. So that was fun too. I'm like, nah, it evens out between all the walking and all the cheesesteaks and shit I'm eating. It's fine.
It's true. It like if I were to, I think if I weren't to eat terribly at cons, I would probably pass out because of all the exercise that I get from these shows. Because for me, you know, we don't have booths. Usually Comic Pop doesn't have a booth. With the Weekly Pull, we had a booth at Denver Comic Con, which was really, really awesome. But rarely do we have booths. So for us, like, we need to travel. We need to walk around.
Yep, you're on your feet the whole time.
Yeah, so I'd be like walking 20 miles, and then I'd be like, oh, I didn't actually eat or drink anything all day, and then I just pass out.
Yeah, that happens.
But I'd be hard pressed to like, to eat well at these shows, which is hard to do.
Yes, it really is, especially in Philly, where it's like, hey, you want a cheesesteak, you want a chewy pretzel, you want a tasty cake? They're everywhere.
Yeah. Somebody actually asked, when would we even have time to eat? And that's a great question, because you really don't have a lot of time. You have to like square it off. You'd be like, this is the time. Like, this is my chance to go. And it really helps when you have people who like, it's funny, like the bigger fish, like Benny and the team. Like, they're there for very specific purposes. they go for these, to do these things. And they're also fans, but they also because they go to so many, they're like, this one's cool. I had a good time. I have enough statues. I have enough stuff. I've done enough things. For me, it's being in Philly. It's doing the things I'm here to do. It's to catch up with creators and colleagues, and then go home. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like, con, because I'm a big nerd who grew up without them. So I'm like, convention,
Absolutely.
I'm going. And let me tell you, every chance I get, I always hit the floor, and I always walk it 16 times.
Absolutely.
But being with people who are in a very different mindset from you are great to help you stay on track. Where he's like,
it really is.
He's like, yo, we got to eat. And I'm like, oh yeah, I actually
good idea.
You said the magic word. I'm starving.
Yeah, that you reminded me.
Exactly. So
I let Starbucks feed me for the majority of the trip.
Yeah. What are some notable culinary delights that we enjoyed at this show, Joel?
Oh, we had all sorts of things. We went to Sonny's famous cheesesteaks. I wanted to go to DeNick's in the market, but I really enjoyed Sonny's. I thought that was good. Cherry Coke is ample and available in America in ways that it's not in my part of Ontario, so I was sure to partake in much of that.
Yes, Sonny's is better. I can say that unequivocally because I've been to the marketplace and I've been to them, and if you look at the Yelp reviews, there's no comparison.
Really? All right, then.
Yeah, no. The marketplace is also really cool. If you've never been, it's like an indoor food court where instead of there being seating, there's just more restaurants. And the last day, we got these pork sandwiches that were just divine.
That's what they say. You got to get the roast pork.
Yeah, it was roast pork, provolone, hot peppers, and it on just this hoagie, and it was so good, dude. Just
nice.
Also, we had a really, really terrific time just as a team. It was the Comic Storian team, it was the Comic Pop team, and it was the Cape Joel team.
Of one.
And we all went up to, what's it called?
Vespers?
Vespers? Is that what it's called?
I want to say it was called Vespers, yeah.
I'll stick with that. Vespers was... The food was incredible. The plan
really
was
nice.
We had a bunch of appetizers, then each order our own meals. We had a table of 21.
Yeah, when it was all said and done.
What we wound up doing was just kind of ordering appetizers non-stop for about 3 hours.
Yep, man, that time just flew, and it's funny. Again, like I said, I'm back on my diet when I get back home. Sean didn't finish his fries. Benny didn't finish his fries that came with their actual food. And yeah, just give those over here to me. Yeah. Nom, nom, nom. Going to rehab tomorrow. Got to get as much in me as I can.
Exactly. Now, we needed to order more of the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls because things. It's funny. I walked away from that table thinking what was my favorite thing, and it was the thing I had first. And didn't again afterwards, and that's
true.
I know this is the show where I'm just talking about food. I'm sorry.
Their wings were pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh, we got a buffer.
Uh oh.
Guess we got a little bit of a server hiccup, but we're back. Hopefully, we'll talk about something else. Sorry about the buffering. We are on a new system. We're using Discord, which isn't as reliable as Skype used to be, but Skype is garbage. So
yeah.
Here we are.
We do what we gotta do.
Yeah, we can do what we gotta do, man. Maybe it's that we've been going for so long. I don't know.
That might be the case, too. I don't know. Another thing about Philly, everyone is so nice there. It really lives up to its name of, the city of brotherly love.
It's true. Let me tell you an exact opposite of that story. I was walking out of my hotel room at 7:50 in the morning, and a man who I did not know, who had been clearly up since yesterday, due to some kind of controlled substance that he was on, shouted from maybe half a block away all the obscenities. And he was directing them in my general direction. He also made some vague reference to the color of my skin. I couldn't really quite hear him because I was so busy running away. But yeah, he was like it's like everyone that comments on our videos was sent an avatar.
Oh no!
He just camped out outside of my hotel, and
the internet came to life.
It just waited for me to exit the building. Thankfully, Tiffany was not with me because she would have then. She has this interesting thing. She's an airbender, and she can just redirect all those obscenities and throw them right back at you, and then also include some deeper, more biting. Maybe they're not vulgar, but they are. They don't really hurt so much as they core into your soul and stay there.
It's psychological.
Yeah. So, but he was yelling at me, and so I ran away like a coward. And
as we would all do in this situation.
And so I had to go through this tunnel, and I'm walking through this tunnel, in like, it's 7:55 in the morning, and this dude starts shouting at me, another dude.
A different dude.
He starts shouting at me, and I just do my thing where I pretend like I don't hear them. Then he says Comic Pop. And I turn around, and it's just a dude who likes what we do, and he just saw me, and he recognized me. And I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to ignore you. And I normally, like, when someone yells in my general direction, I tend to go like, oh, what opportunities are available to me? But sometimes they're not opportunities. Noah's Wild, just subscribe with a tier 1 sub. And for 6 months in a row, thank you so much. And thank you, Dante, for the notification to let me know. And
the Lively Gent also had some bits. Same with Super Punda and Billy Bo as well.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your awesomeness. But I was like, dude, I am so sorry. And we chatted for like 5 minutes about like what he likes to watch.
That's nice.
And all that stuff. And he was super, super nice. But
I will say the con... Or no, go ahead.
No, it's just... But I really felt bad because I was like, just don't yell at me. Then I was like, oh, no, it's cool, dude. Like...
It's too early for all this shit.
Like, if he had said my name, I would have been like, oh, he knows my name. But he was just like saying hey and like yo. And I was like, what?
It is funny the way the Philadelphia Convention Center there is all laid out, because it's like 5 Marriott properties all together connected by a sky bridge. And I couldn't help but get the subtle feeling they were trying to say, like, come to scenic downtown Philadelphia, but also never leave your hotel. We have everything you need right here.
That's true. Well, that marketplace makes it so like you could go to Sonny's, or you could just stay there and eat a million different things and just enjoy your food.
We got a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts and a Hard Rock and a bank and about 100 other things.
No, I stayed in an awesome place. I loved that Marriott, but I stayed in the heart of Chinatown, and I'm so glad.
Yeah, that must have been fun.
I wish that I had another day, because we were surrounded by every which type of like Chinese, like authentic food that you can imagine.
Yeah, I wanted to go too for just that reason.
And Noah's Wild, thank you so much for not only subbing but also for coming to the panel. This dude came to the Comic Pop panel and posted a picture. Thank you so much, dude. We had an incredible time. We didn't even talk about the panels. Time at those panels. I was on 5
at least,
which is my limit. I think the first one was journalism and comics, which was kind of like I was pitch hitting for somebody, and so I got to hang out with the creator of the Mary Sue, someone from the Beat, and it was me, and Benny moderated, and we chatted about comics journalism for a little while, and that was kind of fun.
I missed that one because I got lost, but I met this nice girl named Cindy while walking around, so it all evened out.
You did, yeah. You Dog XX, just subscribe with a tier 1 sub, and subscribe for 22 months in a row. It's almost 2 years, dude. Thank you so much.
Hot damn.
But you know what? You had a great opportunity, because you could have learned about comics journalism a little bit, but instead you went to a different place that I thought we were going to be, but it turns out it was a different location. And where did you go? Where did you end up?
I went to the main panel room, and I saw a very sad sight, which was Ray Park, famous stuntman. You may also know him as Darth Maul, in a big, giant movie theater-sized room with like 10 people all huddled around him up close, because that was his turnout.
Yeah, you got to see Darth Maul in the flesh, which is kind of cool.
Yep. In a tiny, tiny room. And again, I sat there for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, well, maybe Darth Maul will fuck off in a minute and my friends will come out on stage. Nah, he's not going nowhere.
Yeah. Aeon Justice, the Reading Terminal Food Market, that's the one I'm talking about, is the food market. The Ray Park stuff, yep. I will go to... If ever Ray Park is at a con, I will always go, or mean to go, because of an experience that happened at the Big Apple Con a few years back. Tiffany was awesome enough to get me a meet and greet with Stan Lee. She paid for, and she was like, and back then she was like, it's too expensive. It's just you, and I had no control over that. So I was like, I just went. So I go meet Stan Lee and hang out with him for a little while. And so we're chatting up, and I'm like, and Tiffany goes to the show, and what she because we love cons and we like hit the floor. She took a sit down, and she sat in like this little like open tent area with a bunch of seats, and so she's sitting there just kind of like taking it easy, and then a panel formed around her. Like another person sat down, another person behind her, and someone in front of her, and then like Ray Park comes out in front of her, And she's like, "Oh crap! I just got Trojan Ray Parked. Like, I didn't know it, but I'm at a Ray Park panel now." And so she got to like, and she's like, "I can't leave now. I can't I don't want to look rude." So she's just sitting there like listening to Ray Park tell stories about how like he's like, "Well, with the first GI Joe, they were sure they were going to make a lot of they were so sure with the decisions they made. I didn't have a lot of influence on the character, and." By the time G.I. Joe 2 came around, I had a lot of different suggestions and ideas, and they took a lot of them, like no more lips for Snake Eyes, and also like, and the line that I love so much, and it has currency in my neck of the woods. It's literally just like, so I was kind of like, so okay, I mean, like I know that Snake Eyes has like a sword, but like, what if he had like a sword, like a big sword, and then like a little sword? And he's like, so that's me, like I did that. And they're like,
that was my idea.
So Ray, I don't understand, like, but why? He's like, because he's never fought. Like, I've always wanted to fight with like a big sword and then like a little sword too. Like, you're like, oh crap, you come for the sword, and then you stay and find out like, oh crap, there's another little sword like that you didn't know about. And I'm like, that is so funny.
Yep, it was.
Like, that's so incredible. That it's like, even if the whole panel was just him being like, it took 20 hours to put on the Darth Maul makeup, it was worth it just for the big sword, little swords.
Big sword, little sword.
But yeah, I was hoping that he would tell that again, because I was like, does he tell the story about the sword?
Not the 5 minutes I was there.
But by the way, like, Ray Park is the choreographer for the one lightsaber battle you like.
Yes.
It's the Duel of the Fates. They go there and he's like, I don't know, just throw the swords at each other. And he's like, do you mind if I do something? And they're like,
here's my skills as a choreographer.
So he throws it in. That's, by the way, why like Qui-Gon does things. You're like, there's no friggin' way anyone would move a sword like that. But it's also like, it's cool looking. The first time you see it, you're like, I love this scene. Like, if you look at all the gifs of that scene, you're kind of like, oh, there's no reason for them to do any of these things. But that's because it's made by Darth Maul, who like had a vested interest in it looking really cool.
Yeah, that was his resume, man. That's why he still gets hired to this day.
Seriously. Yeah. It ain't because he played Toad.
Oh, shit, he was Toad, too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but do you know what happens to a Toad when it's struck by lightning?
Yeah, same thing that happens to everything else.
Very, very true. That's the only Joss Whedon line from the script he wrote for X-Men that made it that stayed in the movie.
And it's oh so Whedon.
Yeah. Apparently, there was supposed to be like a running thing where it's like, do you know what happens when a Toad does XYZ? Like, he was basically Storm's villain in the movie, and they always had like a back and forth. And so her saying that about lightning is her throwing it back at him.
Because that's a fair fight, Storm v. Toad.
Yeah. Right? But at the same time, well, I mean, like, he does vomit sticky residue onto, what's her name? Jean?
I mean, so do I, but I'm not a supervillain.
Yeah, that's fair. But neither is Toad, so I guess it works out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the journalism comics, we also had a comic story and comic pop panel, which a lot of people came to, and that was really fun. We had a good time there.
Just a second, my phone keeps going off.
Oh, well, take your time. We did that. Then there was the comic pop panel, which was incredible. We had so many amazing people come, and what was really nice was Keystone hooked us up with a voucher. No, not a voucher. Like, basically, they paid for us to be able to give free posters away. So we got to take, instead of selling posters, we actually got to give them to the first 10 people who came to hang out with us. So we got to like do the panel, and then afterwards set up a kind of like impromptu booth outside of the show, and sign posters and pose for pictures and stuff like that, which was super.
I love we were able to find that.
Yeah, me too. And then there was also like, what was it? Benny got to moderate the Marvel panel with Nick Spencer, Jim Zub, and Higgins.
Yeah, which I came late to, but I already knew what they were all going to announce because they had revealed it on the internet that night.
Yes, I also came late to it, but it was in a beautiful space, and it was super fun to see. I got to go backstage during that panel because I had to moderate the following panel, which was the Evening with Kevin Conroy panel.
On Batman Day, and it was fucking electric.
Batman Day. Kevin Conroy has a big old like Q&A panel, and they asked me to moderate the damn thing. So it's just me. Like, I go out there to a ton of people, and I'm like, hey everybody, it's Batman Day, and we're gonna hang out with Batman. So like, line up at the mic, and I'll facilitate your questions, and we'll go into it. I was waiting in the green room backstage until Kevin Conroy came. He was very late because he was doing some like signings and everything. And it was really funny because I'm sitting there and I'm like, and the guy's like, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "Really? I mean, like, should I be?" And he's like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "Thanks." But we're sitting there and it's like 10 minutes to showtime and he's not there. And like, no big deal. 5 minutes to showtime? Okay. Then it's showtime and the coordinator comes over and goes, "Hey, is Batman here?" And we're like, "Nah, man." And he goes, "Okay, cool, no problem." And then he just runs away.
No, the city needed him.
And then just as suddenly as he was gone, he reemerged and he's like, "Hello, everybody. What are we gonna do? Like, so we're doing this?" I go, "Hey, listen. I'm gonna introduce you. Once you hear the screams, come on in." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "You got it." And so I go out there. He comes. I get things situated. He comes out. He answers all these amazing questions, and he tells these really, really terrific, insightful stories about And people ask questions that I already had in my mind. I was like,
same.
"Hey, tell us about what it was like to work with the actor who played Mr. Freeze, and tell us more about Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and all that other stuff." I was very.
And can you
prepared.
sing for us?
Yeah, and he did. He sang "Am I Blue" from Justice League for the entire crowd, which
I couldn't believe that. I was up front there, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to remember this moment the rest of my life.
It was friggin' dope. He rocked, and I don't think anybody recorded it, so that's too bad. But we do have a photo, so if you go over to Instagram.com/CompOpOfficial, you can see a picture.
And as soon as it was done, he was gone again into the night, off to his next panel that needed him.
He did, he did the whole goodbye, and then he was gone. I went back there to say goodbye, and boosh, gone.
Just like the real Batman, you had a Commissioner Gordon moment. Is he gone?
Yeah, exactly. It was just a puff of smoke, and then no Batman. But that was a highlight of the evening, or of the weekend. Also, this is unrelated to Keystone, but because of the proximity we had, we're about 2 hours away from Keystone, from Philly. Tiff and I went. We went to the show until 3, because that's when the parking ran out on our car. And so we drove to New Hope, Pennsylvania. We went to Phantasm Comics, and I bought probably 50 books.
Oh shit! Hot damn!
I was like, I can't believe what nerds we are. We've left the Comic Con to go to a comic book store. And but we had a fantastic time. No pun
all for work, right?
oh yeah, no. Some of it was not. Some of it was just for me, but it was super dope. We had a great time. Overall,
really did.
We'll do it again, and will Keystone. So if you want to do this again, you will see at least all of Comic Pop, if not everybody else, at Keystone Comic Con in August of 2019. So
yeah, I definitely want to go. They seem to have moved it up a little bit in the dates. I think they implied that they might want to do in August next year, the tail end of August.
Yep, it's true. So I recommend it. I think it's a great show, and it was really, really easy to get to, and and it was relatively low in terms relatively low cost.
And low stress too in general. It's just a really well laid out convention center.
Yeah.
It was an old subway. I read up on its history. That's what it used to be.
Yeah, I heard from you, and it shows. It's a beautiful convention center. But let me tell you, I'm really excited for the next 2 shows. I am really, really hyped for Baltimore Comic Con, which I may not go to. We'll see. I'm really hoping I will. And New York Comic Con, which I will be at every single fucking day.
Which I really wanted to go to that one, but obviously going to Philly kind of messed up my plans. But hey, I have a con announcement. This is still brand new today. For the first time ever, Cape Joel will be a guest over at the London Comic Con. That's London, Ontario. Little close to Hamilton, 2 hours outside Toronto. Not London, England. I'd love to go to London, England at some point, but no, London, Ontario. And I've actually been asked to moderate 2 panels there: Comics in a Digital Age and Canadian Identity in Comics.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are terrific panels that you would be definitely ready, good to go for. Make sure to
have to do some research.
Plug the hell out of them.
Oh, I will.
Make sure that, if I can give you any advice about moderating, know that they're the star. You're there to make them look great.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. So yeah, I guess.
Oh, and thanks to Forging Views for the bits too. I just realized.
Oh yeah, thank you. So I guess that's that. We want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us and chatting Captain Marvel and Keystone Comic Con. Looking forward to regaling you with more con stories. Every con is like there's only, with the notable exception of like maybe 2 shows, I have enjoyed every show I've been to. Like I just had a wonderful time. The other ones are when we didn't have an audience.
Yeah.
The ones where I'm like, yeah, that one kind of sucked. Was when we didn't have any audience. But yeah, we haven't seen any of the Titan stuff, so we can't talk about that. But
no.
Stay tuned not next week, but the following week for more. There's no way that you're going to get Benny on the show, and he's not going to talk about Jason Todd. So do not worry. You have to wait for it, but it will happen. But yeah, so that's it. We'll hang out with you guys later. We thank you all so much for hanging out with us. And don't forget to catch us at upcoming cons like Baltimore, New York, and London, Ontario, that is. And of course, thank you so much for our amazing Twitch subscribers who make this show possible, who allow us to have a clean, comfortable, happy space here in the chat for you guys, because without those moderators, without them uploading the show to YouTube and everything, we wouldn't have the ability to do it, because there's just no time in the day.
Absolutely.
But we'll see you guys then. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I am Sal.
And I'm Joel.
So long.